Miss T was born in 1961. Daddy had bought a stallion named Amarillo. That year I had the honor of getting to choose a filly to be mine, which if any of you all know my dad, you know what that meant. It was in name only. So anyway, long story short, I chose a little dun mare, and Marguerite Henry had written a book about a little pony in Chincoteague called Misty, and I said, Daddy, I want to name her Misty. He said, no way. So anyway, she came up with the name Miss T. Stewart, and she's always been Miss T. I have always believed, and my family has always believed, that the versatility of the quarter horse is one of the most important things. You need to be able to go do a day's work on the ranch, and if you need to go show them, go show them. But I can think of one real quick story that a long time ago, my dad and I had to pull 2 horses out to go doctor a cow, and we got 2 show horses out of the barn, and that's what we went and did the job on. It happens still today. We take our show horses to the pasture, and I truly believe in the versatility of the American quarter horse. So I think this is about 2 families, Miss T's family and my family. My family because I've got the 5th generation of my family sitting with me tonight, living and working on our ranch, and believing in the versatility of the quarter horse, and Miss T because she proved it.
This is really going to be hard for us. It wasn't I don't think there's a cowboy or a cowgirl that loved a horse like Ann and I did Mr. Conclusion. Mr. Things that he did, I mean, there's a million stories. We had him 12 years. Had a lot of people work for us at Edgewood Farms, and I could go to the barn in the mornings, every morning and went there, and I said, hey, mister, and he'd nicker. And the boys here that's worked for us, Luke Castle, Jason Smith, Dwayne Falk, they tried that every day they worked for me to get Mister to nicker at him. He never would.
Mr. Conclusion truly was a star, not only to those who raised him and early on recognized that they had a horse of star quality, but to those many people who bred to him over the years, and the many others who followed his career so closely as loving fans. He was a star in the quarter horse industry for his great contribution to the breed as an exceptional individual and a phenomenal sire. But most of all, Mr. was a star to all those who loved him. Not for the titles he won or for the records he set, but for who he truly was. A big, beautiful, 16-hand sorrel stallion whose eyes looked at you with warmth, caring, and love. Mr. loved people. He was a celebrity and one who loved his fans. People from around the world came to see this magnificent horse, and he broke all the language barriers. They wanted to see him, to meet him face to face, to take his picture, and always the big horse posed so graciously while the cameras clicked and video cameras recorded. Suffice it to say, Mr. loved his audiences and they loved him. Great horses, like great people, make a place for themselves in history in the great legacies they leave after they're gone. And Mr. Conclusion has certainly done that.
Mr. Barnum is at last being placed in the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame where he belongs. Someone said to me not long ago that Mr. Barnum had been forgotten. Obviously, this is not so. There are presently horsemen and horsewomen showing, racing, using, and rodeoing on descendants of my family's grand old man. Not to mention the quarter horse champions of which you'd find his name in their pedigree. He was, as his record shows, one of the quarter horse breed's great race horses owing to his natural talent, perfect conformation, and his particular intelligence. He was the only world champion son of 3 bars, and he lives on at our ranch through his great-granddaughters.
AB was generous, he was loving. He gave me my first car, he gave me my first piece of real jewelry, and he really teased me a lot. When Bruce and I were engaged to be married, he showed up at a wedding shower for me and told the whole story about how he had married Kathleen. She nearly died. Anyway, AB bought their first horse, Barbara L., for Kathleen in the late 40s, and you heard the story about what all Barbara L. did. You've heard A.B.'s history in the horse business. He's been gone 45 years. He would be 100 years old now. I am so thrilled for my family. I'm thrilled for Bruce and Kathleen. Wish they could have been here to see this happen. Don't know any way to thank everybody enough. And Frank, I really particularly thank you. I know you had a lot to do with this. And thank you to the committee. I really do appreciate this for everybody.
I had the privilege of showing the very first time to Ronald Sharp. And Ronnie, of course, went on to chair the AQHA Judges Committee and establish an international reputation. The little thing that came to mind as I was thinking back is we tried our hand at racing for a while. There was a track, a approved quarter horse track in Hillsdale, Michigan. Well, talk about a brush track. I swear that not 50 feet past the finish line, there was a wall of rubber straps that stood up on a fence that if you were able to stop in time, you had a successful race, and if you weren't, you just had a disaster. I think you all know that I'm just a hobbyist horseman, small breeder, don't come from wealth. I'm rich beyond measure.
In the Hall of Fame committee, I served on the first one. I know the gentleman said Mr. Ernest Browning and Bob Denhart were the first nominees. I was on that committee, and I'm proud to say that the committee since then have done a wonderful job. I don't know why they picked me, but I hope I can live up to their expectations. As I said earlier, I come from a racing family, and I'm proud to say that my mother and father taught me one thing, and that was, if there's a rule in the book, go by the rule. If you don't like the rule, go to the authorities that made the rule, explain why you didn't like it, and if they wanted to change, they could change. But people called me hard-nosed. I probably was, because if it said do this, I did that.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of impossible. I don't know how this happened, guys. How can a poor old uneducated cowboy get such a great honor as this from such a great association? This is great. And roughly 75 years ago, just got all this, just doing what I've always wanted all my life, just riding horses. 75 years ago, I started out riding. My first horse that done the job for me. I started out riding in school, and I was about 6 years old, about roughly 75 years ago. I rode this old horse double from the dad's scout camp to headquarters to catch a bus. My brother and I was riding double bareback on this pony. Then went from there, I left school. At 14, went to work on a cow outfit, making $60 a month, doing just what I wanted to do. And still am. Still am.
Yeah.
This is great. Boy, I was lucky to have so many good friends, run into so many good people. I've worked with so many good cowboys, good horsemen, and great horse breeders, and it took them all. Them breeders, they gotta put you horseback, get you something you can win on. That it takes everybody. It took everybody. Just don't know what to say. This is great. That's all. I showed the horses for years, and it kind of went Kind of got to ride up and down the road with some pretty good rodeo guys, old JD and a few guys. We've had some good times, really good times. I can't get over this. This is unreal.
When one of a stallion's sons is in the American Quarter Horse Hall of Fame, it's a good bet he was a quality sire. When two of his sons are in the hall, it's a good bet he was an outstanding sire. Leo San, the sire of Hall of Famers Peppy San and Mr. San Peppy, bred by H.H. Darks of Wetumpka, Oklahoma, foaled in 1949 by Leo and out of the San Simeon mare San Sue Darks. It would so happen that in 1957, breeder Gordon B. Howell was looking for exactly those bloodlines when he found Leo San, then an 8-year-old. In August of 1980, a yearling filly named Dashingly went through the All-American Futurity Sale in Ruidoso, New Mexico, a daughter of Dash for Cash and D-Mount by the thoroughbred stallion Killiqua. She was large, even as a yearling, and would eventually stand 16-1. Bred and raised by Muriel and Ginger Highland, she was purchased that day by Wendy Phillips, who put her in race training with future Hall of Famer Bubba Cassio. Bubba thought the filly had a good mind and a good temperament, just like her famous sire. Dashingly broke her maiden in her first outing in May of '81 at Los Alamitos. She'd end the year by becoming AQHA Racing Champion 2-year-old filly.